All right, thank you. Thanks, Kimber and Giles, for being the official MCs. Those guys are going to switch off. My job is just to thank everybody. I put this slide up there first with Ken and Howie and the Voice of the Orcas trainers, Carol, Sam, JJ, myself. This event isn't really a conference. What I love about it is it's always been organic. That's why there's not a sign-up sheet or a fee to pay. We just have been doing this since 2011, actually before Death at SeaWorld was created or before Blackfish came out, because when Don was killed, we were getting interviewed a lot and we hadn't seen it. We'd all worked together, we're all great friends, and just decided to get together. So that's the organic beginnings of this event. So thank you all for making the long journey here. It's kind of hard to get here, and once you get here, it feels like home. So thank you. Yeah, so on Friday, Dr. Lori Marino hosted a great pre-Superpod talk at the Whale Sanctuary Project with Tim Zimmerman, who I hadn't spoken to face-to-face in a while on the computer, and Lori and myself. If you want to go to the Whale Sanctuary Project, please look that up. This was yesterday. I didn't know who Ashley was at the time, and she just gave a great presentation before lunch, and I hope this works. The sound could be too high or too low, but let's see if it works. Did you guys see that? I don't know if I can do it again. Let's try it again.
Go back one.
All right, I'm trying.
No, go back to the slide.
I'm trying. Okay. All right, here we go. One more time. Watch carefully. Yeah, it was really remarkable, and I know Ken would appreciate leading off with one of those slides. So this is our theme. We've all heard about the Blackfish effect, but when I came here in October for Christine and Karina and Holly to screen Corky for the Friday Harbor Film Festival, I was like crestfallen that that Ken wasn't going to come back. And I met Ken in '96, and he's been like a father figure to me, but also a brother and a sage. And you guys will hear a lot more about Ken over the course of the next 2 days. I can't wait to hear Kelly and Howard's presentation later tonight. So Aaron Cora put together a program for Friday. This is going to be our solemn day. It'll be fun, but we're going to go out there. There's a shuttle. This was my slide to tell you all if you didn't want to drive out there, because it does require one of those state parking passes to be out there. I think you can pay on site, but there's a shuttle going from the Whale Museum for the sunset Friday night. If you're still around, please attend that. We're going to say some words about David Kirby, Ken, Samantha Lippman, and also Elizabeth Batt, who we've lost in just the last 2 years, and they were all 4 whale warriors. This is last time. That's Goody. That's Goody out here. Let's hear that one more time. I don't know if please go. Now Megan said that was Cruiser, but there was a debate about what whale that was. It was a southern resident male, so I'm not exactly sure who that was. This is my list, and it's too small to even read. I was going to try to thank everybody. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Holly Marie Combs. She both donated for the price of the theater. Yep. And provided the insurance rider, which is something we had never experienced. This is Superpod 8. We've been here before. The cost has gone up, but we needed an insurance plan for some reason. So thank you, Holly. If you're in here, I can't tell. Yes, thank you so much. Holly is Piper in Charmed, and I wasn't a Charmed fan until after I met Holly. So those films are that series is syndicated. Kelly, I feel like he's my brother. When I met Kelly in '96, he was with me in Astrid when I saw my first 2 killer whales, J1 and J2. Who Jeff named his 2 boats after, and we pointed out yesterday on the trip. Laura Barchard, her name has changed. Laura, we wouldn't be here without Laura. She was the ocean investigator that made the movie Blackfish and especially Death at SeaWorld happen. So Laura, thanks for coming all the way from Tampa. I appreciate that. Gabby, Tim Zimmerman, David Kirby for Blackfish and Death at SeaWorld. We've all heard about the Blackfish effect. Simon Allen's going to tell us about the Death at SeaWorld effect that we hope is going to be happening in the near future. Dave, Darren, Lodi, the Center for Whale Research, thanks for contributing here. Thanks for the shirt. I can't wait to, we used to do, by the way, we used to end this event at the Center for Whale Research on Friday. After we did it, Superpod 3 and Superpod 4, we had a great turnout. Ken was like, Jeff, we can't do this again. I thought my deck was going to come down. There were so many people out on the deck, and it was a lot of fun, but it just got too big. And so I'm so happy to see so many people in this theater tonight. This is a big theater. It's got 300 seats or so, and so thank you for showing up. I don't have my glasses on. Nathan and the theater folks, thank you so much for this beautiful space. It fits perfectly here. Howie, Astrid, Kelly, Dave, in 1996 radically changed my life, and I thank you for that. Naomi, Ingrid, Giles, my sister, Lori, Charles, thanks for kind of being on call. When I heard Ken was sick and I reached out to Naomi and Ingrid and Giles, and they were like, yeah, we're on board. Let's just get this to happen. And so that's allowed us to, you can't have a speaker series without speakers, and thank you guys for that, for being here. Thanks, Naomi in particular. I can't wait to hear, what you have to say in a few minutes. Kim and Giles, thanks for the MC work here. Goody Amy, Cass, Tricia, Tiff, Kev, thanks for coming all the way from Florida. Please take back this knowledge of the dams in particular and tell your community about it. Sarah and Jill, thank you for being here as well. I mean, it's a long journey from Nashville and also from Florida, so thank you guys for being here. Jim Waddell has been an inspiration. Thank you, Jim, for your expertise and your time at the Army Corps and what you've shared with the dams. I think that is the same. Both you and Ken independently came to the same conclusion that bringing down those lower snake dams are what we need to do. Thank you all for texting about it earlier today. Dr. Colleen Overdorf, I don't know if Colleen's here. I had a health scare earlier this year, and she was my rock through that. So I wanted to thank her from traveling all the way here with Lance and here today. Chica, Carol, Eric, I think we're the only 4, I didn't check with Eric, that have attended all the events. Chica, thanks for putting up with me for all these events. It's a lot of stress. Dino and the Votos, thank you, and Jeff Friedman, thank you so much. We had an incredible visit with the Biggs whales yesterday, all the way up by Vancouver, and it was just an incredible show. I'm going to bequeath some of my time to Margot Dodds from the Marine Connection, but I do have a couple more slides. We've come a long way. This is Candace's house for Superpod 1. This is Howie and Ken and everybody watching Dr. Lori give a talk on orca brain in Candace's place with their orca hats on. This was a who's who event, the Superpod 1. There was a lot of people that were here working with David Kirby right here, Tim Zimmerman, Astrid, Ken, Gabby. I can't see at the end there, but this formed it was really interesting because the trainers didn't follow the story followed the trainers. So when we came here, both David and Gabby came here, and that's, if you watch Blackfish again, note that about 75% of the film is taken right here. Interviews, everything, wild whales. Ingrid, thanks for giving some of your orca footage to Blackfish as well. And a lot of people got interviewed, and we did it right here. Superpod 2, there's some Tim and Ingrid and Carol and Eric and Sam. I wish Sam was here. She wishes she was here too, so I'm going to give a shout out to Sam Berg and JJ. Yep. I was going to bust Dino. I thought he was sleeping there, but it looks like he was checking something on his phone. Ingrid and Howie. Laura, I found this. I pulled this out. Sorry for not asking first, but are you allowed to be here? I think you are. I thought that was a great picture of Joelle and you ladies as well. Elizabeth Batt, we lost Elizabeth about 18 months ago, and so we're going to honor her out at Lemkiln as well. Okay, so this is one of the funny, it was funnier. Ken seeing his first drone, and a lot of the research that's going on at the Center for Whale Research now is drone based. Every time I get an email from the center, I open it up, and they've got these super high resolution, 4K. I'm going to show you the very first sanctioned drone launch for the Center for Whale Research, and it was with a DJI Phantom 2 Vision with a 2-axis gimbal, so it's going to look super wobbly. And when it got outside of 300 meters from shore, I lost connection and it crashed into the bushes. But it was the first official drone flight from the Center for Whale Research, and I think it's going to come up next if this works. Here we go. Maybe. There we are. There's Ken. He's filming the drone. He filmed it like the whole time it was in sight. Now look, it's hard to see the whales, but they're in here. Look for little spouts. See it? See it? See that? That's the resolution we had in 2014, folks. It's about to lose signal here. There's a happy ending though. All right, here we go. Somebody found it. That's it, number one. So, we've had a lot of crazy environmental news this week, which is sea surface temps, and we're on day 16 in a row of record air temps as well in a row. That means we're kind of on the exponential part of the hockey stick right now, the climate. When I was at Ken's, after I finished med school, I spent some time with Ken and Chica and Astrid and Dave, and I asked Ken to pull the 4 most important books that I could read at that time. And I just thought it was super interesting to see some of the titles of his books, Big Coal, The Weathermakers, Collapse. I mean, Ken was talking about this and was completely dialed in to the current state of affairs. He's a sage, and he knew, long before the trouble that we were in. And I think that's one reason he's so passionate about getting rid of the dams as well, to kind of restore nature, as everyone has said. So I just thought that was an interesting slide to include here. The future, when I was talking with Lori and Tim, how do we get animals out of captivity? Well, one way is legally. Steve Wise is leading the non-human person movement, and hopefully non-human personhood status can be conveyed to an orca or an elephant or a monkey at some point in the near future. That is happening right now, and hopefully that could be applied to someone like Corky, maybe even as early as this year. So I just thought it was really interesting to define personhood so everyone could see that, so it could be logged for the screen here. But when I've looked at these, and I've written an affidavit on it, I just thought all these are kind of they require no further explanation. But moral agency and the ability to engage in moral judgments is something that you see killer whales do all the time. For example, when they're training to take a seal off of an ice floe, they don't always eat the seal. So they're not like killing machines. They're actually making the choice not to kill. And that's something that Ken said that Superpod 5 and 6, they choose not to kill. And I think that's evidence of moral agency. And I just wanted to put that term in everyone's brain moving forward, because I think once that legal barrier is redefined and orcas or whatever animals can get habeas corpus, or the right to body liberty, that's the future of the animal justice movement, and it would have immense ramifications for things like factory farming as well. So that's why I put that slide up there so you guys could take a look at that. When I was out here with Jeff in October for the Corky Film Festival, we watched Copperfield and Jude do the same thing with the harbor seal. I don't know if you can see that poor seal. He's right there, and he's right there. These whales stripped away the layers of kelp, and that is bull kelp. It was a big island, and they were just going through with their dorsal fins and picking it up on their dorsal fins and stripping it off layer by layer. And the seal, was not too, he was scared. He was motionless right there. But it was really interesting at the end, like some of the people on the boat were saying, well, why don't they just finish the job? They just, it was an uncle and nephew relationship, and the uncle was training the nephew, and they just, at least that's what it appeared to be. They just swam off. And I thought that was kind of the analogous to the ice floe examples that they even show in Blackfish. Or I don't know if that one pops back up in Blackfish or not, but you've seen where they they don't finish off the prey item. They just are practicing, apparently. So I bequeath some of my time to Margot Dodds from the Marine Connection, and she is in the UK. And I'm going to play this video, and then I have one more slide, and we're done. So here we go.
Hi, all at Superpod. I'm sorry that we at Marine Connection can't be with you this year, especially as we remember those giants of our community that we've lost, such as Ken Balcom, David Kirby, and my personal friend and colleague, Sam Littman, who for me will forever be Orca Girl. Jeff asked me to speak to you today about the situation in the UK. As everyone is aware, we no longer have any dolphinariums here. And although Marine Connection works globally on the issue of captivity, we very rarely have anything to report with regards to the UK. Which is surprising when you consider that at some point we had a lot of dolphinariums and a lot of captive cetaceans. It began here in the 1960s, with most of them being held in tanks within zoos or safari parks. And there were even travelling dolphin shows and whale shows. And I remember seeing the two orcas, Nemo and Neptune, held in a municipal swimming pool at the end of the pier in Clacton. But thank goodness things have changed since then. And 2023 marks a historical milestone in the history of cetacean captivity in the UK, because it is now 30 years since the last captive dolphins left our shores. I'm not forgetting Winnie, who was the last captive orca held at Windsor Safari Park. But by 1993, she had already moved to SeaWorld in the USA. So people are under the mistaken belief that we have a ban in place in the UK and that it's illegal to keep dolphins and whales in captivity here. And sadly, that's not the case. Since 1993, Marine Connection has worked closely with government departments in an effort to establish a ban on the display of captive dolphins and whales. However, we're constantly told that our regulations are sufficiently stringent to stop a facility being established here. However, we believe that with it being 30 years since the last facility closed, not having a ban in place simply just does not make sense. This year in the UK, the Animal Low Welfare Activities Abroad Bill has been put forward. This would, if passed, it's going through its second reading in the House of Lords now. And if passed, it would make it illegal for tour operators to advertise cruel activities abroad to the British public. This would, of course, include dolphinaria. However, our fear is that the dolphins and whales will not be included in this bill. So while we feel that that is a positive step forward, we think the UK government need to look more closely at the issues of cetaceans in captivity in their own backyard. We are now calling for a complete ban to be put in place on the importation and display of cetaceans in the UK. Although globally, with over 3,000 cetaceans in captivity, we know that this can't be achieved overnight. There have, of course, been successful releases, one of which I'm sure Lincoln will or has covered in his talk. But Marine Connection are working hard to ensure that this generation of captive whales and dolphins is the last. It's time to phase out the breeding, the capture, and the trade, consign it to history books, and offer those who are, after all, truly wild at heart a brighter and better future than to end their lives in a tank. Marine Connection supports the establishment of seaside sanctuaries, and this would mean, as you all probably know, that any animals, any cetaceans that couldn't be returned to the ocean would at least be able to live in a safe environment and as close to a natural surrounding as their conditions would allow. It would give them back some dignity, and it would give them back some semblance of freedom. In closing, back to the UK, as we celebrate this historical milestone, as I said, we're asking the government to step up, agree to a ban, if it's not covered in the bill that's going through currently, to ensure that the captivity industry can never again be a threat to the current status quo. I hope to see you all again at some point, some before, and maybe some at the next Superpod 9. I've been speaking to Jeff with regards to potential destinations for the next Superpod. I have suggested Spain, simply because it's the country in Europe with the most dolphinariums and hence the most captive cetaceans. But we shall see. Until then, enjoy San Juan, enjoy Superpod. Say hello to the whales for me.
So Margot brought up one thing, and by the way, I talked with Katie Comer. Margot's presentation was going to be tomorrow after lunch. We wanted to free up 15 minutes of space tomorrow for another short film. So that changed the schedule, and Katie and I worked out me going over a few minutes to get that in, because we're saving 15 or 20 minutes tomorrow. Just 2 more slides, my orca bike, and lastly, see you on Friday. Thanks, everybody. Yes. Yeah, Kel.
I want to thank you for having the courage back in the 90s to accept our invitation to come out to the islands, working at SeaWorld, knowing the threats you were going to face, losing your job, and everything you've done, both for the whales, Superpods, and everything. You are a blessed soul, sir, and thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it.